Hello, Blaire Brown. How are you today?
I am excellent. How are you doing today?
I got to tell you, I'm so excited. I was reading your bio and it's like, oh, this gal does help entrepreneurs. She even has a startup kit, right? You help
That's true.
startups. It's like, I
That's
know,
true.
I know there's a lot of people in the audience that are going to, this is going to resonate with them. What you do resonates with them because they don't know the things that you know. They don't know how to start a business. All right. So before we get there, Blaire, give us a quick rundown of who you are.
All right, quick rundown, Cliff's Notes. Hi, everybody. My name is Blaire Brown, and I'm the founder of Visionary Advantages. We're a brand strategy group. So I specialize in helping businesses with their marketing and branding initiatives. But my heart and soul and passion also lies with the entrepreneurs that are starting up. As you prefaced, I'm the creator of the Business Launch Lab, where we help new and aspiring entrepreneurs actually build their dang businesses. How do you go from idea to starting a business, right? Where's the roadmap? That is where the roadmap is.
They're
So I
they're
love helping
dang
people
they're
in that
they're
way.
dang business.
Get that dang business off the ground. You keep talking about it, but are you taking action? That's the real question. So I've created a roadmap that helps people expedite the process. And I love talking about entrepreneurship so much that I also have a podcast about it as well called the Curate Your Success podcast. So I really eat, sleep, breathe entrepreneurship and marketing.
I love that. I love that. Are you familiar with the book E-Myth by Michael Gerber?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't read it yet. It is on my list.
All right. Well, you have a reading assignment now. Um,
Okay, bring it
the
on.
the general gist of the E-Myth is that a technician, let's use a home service business like a HVAC,
Mm-hmm.
contractor. So you have this HVAC company, right? They have these employees, and these employees go out and they fix air conditioners and heaters and things of that
Mm-hmm.
nature. And they're sitting there while it's really hot and messy, and they're in the attic saying, "I know I can do this better than the guy that's running this company." And so they go out with their pickup truck and they start their own HVAC company. And what do they know
Mm-hmm.
how to do? They only know how to do the air conditioner work.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know how to do the marketing. They don't know how to run a business. They don't even know how to start a business. And the
Mm-hmm.
E myth is basically that all they've done is change their job and increase their workload, right? So
Mm-hmm.
so they're not it's the E myth, the entrepreneurial myth. Anybody
Mm-hmm.
can do this. Anybody can just go out and start a business. And his take on this is that that's not true. An entrepreneur doesn't stay in the trenches doing the thing that they desired to do when they started the business. They have to grow out of
Mm-hmm.
that in order to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
Thoughts?
It takes time. I mean, it doesn't happen overnight, right? But you have to start, you do have to get in the trenches, right? And start that process somewhere. It's not going to be handed to you, right? So I totally, I think you have to set it up a specific way. So that way you can get to that level, make a plan. How can you get to that point of you actually enjoying entrepreneurship? What are your thoughts?
So you're saying I have a roadmap, and I have this roadmap because
Yeah.
this e myth is actually true, right? If you just go out and
Hmm.
say, "Well, I think I can go and do this technical thing and make a business out of it," what are you missing?
Hmm.
Right? How to start a business,
Yeah, how to
all of the
start.
paperwork.
Yeah, there's a lot of sexy paperwork you got to do, like what business structure are you going to set up, make that thing legal, so that way you can pay taxes, right? But you really have to become official, like make sure everything's buttoned up. Open up a business account under your business name that's separate from your personal. Things like that are very important to starting a business. And yeah, you have to do that. You can have that HVAC background and say, I'm going to start a business and be really great at selling this or implementing the services. Sorry, not selling it. But you have to go from square one. Okay, let's set this up and make it official. And then how am I going to brand and market myself so that way I don't know, you make sales. Because once you set up the branding, you have to think, how am I going to talk to my audience? How am I going to appear to my audience? What is going to be appealing to them? And to set that up, you need to do some research as well. Like, what do they want? What are their pain points? You can't think that just because you have this skill set that everybody wants it. You have to find, how are you helping them where they're at right now? That's really important for you to make any sales. And I see you're
I
shaking your
agree.
head. Yes.
Yes, yes.
So important. And people forget about that.
Yes. I mean, most entrepreneurs are not Chick-fil-A, right? If you build a Chick-fil-A, you're going to get an automatic, inflow of business.
Yeah.
They see the sign for whatever reason, and it's like, they
Yes.
are attracted. Most entrepreneurs don't have that experience. Well, I'm in business, and where are the customers? Right?
Yeah. Most businesses are not bought from a franchise or out of a box, right? It's already done for you. Like, you have to put the work in and set it up yourself as a new entrepreneur most of the time, unless you have one of those Chick-fil-A deals.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even franchises, they fall into that same trap because, you have a guy who wants to be in business for himself, and his qualifications are a pocketbook, right? Not necessarily they have experience in whatever the franchise does, whether it's a restaurant or I know that there are some plumbing and air conditioning. There's even grout and tile, refurbishment. All right. Well, you buy that franchise, you're still going to have to learn how to sell and market, right? As well as run the business. And so, okay. So quick question. At what stage of growth should a person start thinking about outsourcing marketing?
As soon as you can afford it. And even if you're uncomfortable with it, investing in yourself is hiring extra help and outsourcing, because as soon as you start doing that, you can actually start to see your business grow. Because even though it feels counterintuitive at the beginning, people are like, oh, I can do everything myself and I can wear all the hats. Yeah, you do have to do that for a little while, right? But as soon as you start seeing some sort of money come through the door, how can you reinvest in that in your business to grow it in a very smart way? I'm not saying spend it aimlessly and, burn money on fire. I'm saying create a plan. Like, what if something were taken off your plate right now that would help you move the business forward as a CEO and doing higher level strategies here, or implementing things like maybe more client calls, for example? Maybe that frees up more time to make those sales, which in turn is going to bring you more money, right? So if you think about what tasks you could hand off in that way, for me and my business personally, the best thing I was able to hand off immediately was things with my website. I do marketing all the time. So handing off something, I was telling you earlier before we hit record, is that I realized I am not a web designer by trade. I'm very good at managing it and coming up with a creative process. But if I'm moving something on a website and shifting one thing moves everything on the website, and I think it's going to take me 5 minutes, it takes me 8 hours. Okay, everybody listening, if you've built something like that, you've been there, because that's how it works. Website minutes. No, it's not. It is not
So
for me.
you're saying basically the ads for GoDaddy and Square are lies.
All lies. I'm calling it now, because it takes so much time on certain things. So for me, I was like, okay, if I can hand this off to somebody who does this day in and day out, takes them 5 minutes to fix these issues that take me 8, well worth me putting that 8 hours into creating a sales plan or other next level thinking for my business so I can move it forward. So really, that's a long way of me explaining. Hire somebody, outsourcing tedious things that take you forever so you can think higher level and move your business forward.
Would you say that one of the largest or greatest mistakes that entrepreneurs make is the mindset of ownership and control? That I have to do everything myself. I'm afraid if I don't do it, then it's not going to get done, or it's going to get done incorrectly.
Oh, yeah. That's a huge thing that entrepreneurs face, because it's their baby, and I get it, right? Like, you want everything to go perfectly. But the fact is, it's really not going to go perfectly if you're doing everything all yourself forever. You're just going to be in the same place. It's a hamster wheel of, okay, I got this one project done. Now I'm on to the next. Now I'm on to the next. But you're constantly, oh, now I got to go back and do that project because I set it up for X amount of time, but now that time's up. I got to go back and do it myself. It's literally a hamster wheel. And if you don't get off that and you have to trust that other people are also very smart too, and they might actually do it better than you, spoiler. Um, you know,
Spoiler.
yes, they are going to mess up sometimes, but you have to be a leader and work through it and come up with new systems. Maybe you need to set up some better training for that next person you're going to hire on. It's all a evolution of your business, but you can't do everything yourself all the time. It's definitely a huge mindset roadblock that new entrepreneurs get, but the sooner you can get out of that, the happier you're going to be.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
One of the things that comes up a lot in when you start looking at entrepreneurship and you start following thought leaders, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or wherever, they have this thing where they're trying to sell this ideal, this dream of the laptop lifestyle, right? Or design your own life. How, it's like, obviously when I grew up, that wasn't a thing. It's like, you just go to work, right? That's
Right.
the thing. Well, now you go to work and it's supposed to be, fulfilling. It's supposed to be, built, your work is not who you are. It's just what you do. And it builds the rest of your life. And I'm not disagreeing with that, but I do believe that they're selling somewhat of an impossible task. How do you start a business and also craft it to be part of your lifestyle?
That is a great question. You have to get over the fact that things aren't going to always be perfect, right? Like you said, the laptop lifestyle and dream of like everything's going to essentially be perfect. There's some sacrificial times in your life whenever you're building a business, right? Like you got to sacrifice your timelines and know that it's just temporary and you're in building stages because it's just how it is. If everything were easy, wouldn't everybody do it?
Yeah, maybe, but not everybody set out
Yeah,
to be an entrepreneur. I mean, it
it's
takes
not for
a
everybody.
certain mindset to understand that you need help, right? Whether
Mhm,
it's actually in your business or for your business, and those are two different things.
mhm,
Um,
mhm,
you need help as an entrepreneur between your ears. Who's helping
mhm,
you with your mindset?
mhm. Mindset's
Because if
huge.
you're always in your own head, one of the biggest, it took me a long time to figure this out, but one of the biggest drawbacks to being an entrepreneur is that you do spend a lot more time in your head. And it's like negative self-talk and the imposter syndrome are real things.
Yeah, they are. They
And so,
definitely are.
yeah. So it's like, okay, as an entrepreneur, what is your fastest path to growth? And I'm going to advocate that your fastest path to growth is hiring a mentor or being in a mastermind.
Totally. I agree. Definitely ask for help, get in a mastermind, hire a mentor, consultant. There's so many different avenues, whatever you feel the most comfortable with, but definitely get help because you shouldn't be on this island alone. And entrepreneurship definitely feels like that if you don't ask for help and surround yourself with like-minded people that are rooting for you, because you're going to get into your own brain sometimes and be like, oh, am I able to do this? I don't know. And like, as you're overcoming these obstacles daily, right? But if you surround yourself with other entrepreneurs that are also doing it and you're like, wow, this really is awesome right now, or what you're doing is super cool, or this really sucks, like there's so many different scenarios that you're going to face, good and bad. And so if you surround yourself with entrepreneurs that are also doing it, you're going to realize, okay, this is normal. This is a cool idea. let's try this. It's a lot of trial and error and seeing what works, and big mindset game. But community has to be one, next to hiring mentors and getting help and whatnot. I'd say the second most important thing is community and surrounding yourself with positive go-getters, really. So that way you're not you're going up this mountain alone. You realize, like, now this is just part of the process. It's normal, but let me have some people I can talk to about this.
I like that a lot, because we definitely need somebody to help tell us, well, yeah, that's normal. Because the other side of that coin is the bootstrapper who's going to say, well, why should I pay anybody for information? It's all out there for free on YouTube. You just Google it. Okay. I don't know about you, but I don't have unlimited time to find the right information and sift through the bad information.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is like, yeah, sure. People ask me that all the time too, because, I have a course that helps people start their businesses. But they're like, well, couldn't I just Google everything? You can Google anything under the sun. You can Google how to build a home. But are you an engineer? Do you really want to take that much time to search through Google? And then once you're sifting through Google, there's a million things, right and wrong answers.
Mm-hmm.
So one person might be saying this, the other person's saying this. You're downloading every single free resource under the sun. When are you going to take action and make the right moves? That's a decision you have to look at and think, is it worth investing in myself? Do I want to cut that learning curve in half with somebody who does know what they're talking about? So really, it's just those choices you have to make. And how long do you want to do this? How much time do you have and how much money do you have? Because the longer you extend the start of something, you're dumping money into tools along the way, and you're going to be losing money, right?
Now, I love that point, because as a marketer, I know that I spend a significant amount of money every single month for tools.
Yeah.
Right.
Me too.
And as an entrepreneur, and you're looking at it and saying bootstrapping, well, I can do this or I can do that, and there's all these free things. Well, let's examine that, because if you're finding that information for free, one of the things that people don't tell you about gurus is that information probably doesn't get made public until they're no longer using it. Because why would they give you that information for free if they were still, having tremendous success? Why dilute the pool? So, okay, is the information still relevant? Are the tools still relevant? How much time are you going to spend learning how to use that tool properly? And it gets to that learning curve. It's like, you cannot stay in a learning curve if you want to grow your business.
You got to make moves, power moves.
Revenue producing moves.
Revenue producing power moves only. And get started. The more you delay, you're wasting time and money. And that is the one thing, the biggest shortage that every entrepreneur typically faces.
Time
and money.
Yeah. I mean, if you don't have time, if you have time, it's because you don't have clients, right? So you need to be doing everything to get more clients. And if you have money, well, then you can buy speed and confidence.
Yes.
To accelerate your process. That's been my experience.
Yes, I can totally agree with you on that.
Now, where are you located, Blaire?
I am in South Florida.
South Florida. Okay, so you're in a state that loves entrepreneurs. They love new ideas. They love new businesses. You what?
I'm actually new here. I was in New York for over 10 years in the city, so I'm a pandemic transplant down here, but with everybody else. But both places, both New York and South Florida, very entrepreneurial mindsets.
Yeah. When you speak with new entrepreneurs or newish entrepreneurs, do you find that they have a similar trait in that they either want to be bootstrappers or they want to grow as fast as possible. And those are not the same things.
They are definitely not the same things. Yeah, I actually run into mostly, well, I run into both, but a lot of them at the beginning stages are bootstrappers because they think, like we said, they can just Google everything. And so that's their frustration is themselves. They're like, but I can do all of this. Like, I know I can. And then at some point down the line, they realize, wow, maybe I should actually get some help because it's one thing after another. It's delay after delay. That's when they kind of had this realization over time. It is rare that you find a new entrepreneur that wants to just like invest in the tools right up front, I'd say. I think it takes them a while to get there. Just a little bit.
I will tell you this little story about my beginnings. I'm gonna help businesses grow, right? And so
Yeah.
I had to build a website. I couldn't afford to pay somebody to do a website. And back then, you still had to use the FTP process, you know?
Oh,
And I'm like, what is that?
yeah.
I had no idea
my
how to get my photos up to the website because they don't have the automatic upload kind of thing that they do now. It's like, it's like you had the FTP stuff. I'm like, oh my God, there's so much I don't know. Right. And so,
well,
I was like, I took a lot of pride in retrospect, foolish pride in being a bootstrapper. But man, I got to tell you, the first time I laid down a chunk of change to get into a mastermind and learn something new that wasn't out there on Google, I accelerated my business, and I mean, it was a four figure payment to be a part of this, but within 60 days, I had made 100x on that investment. Within 100x, yes.
Wow. See, that's the difference it makes. It's that big.
Yeah.
This is not a $5 return. This is 100x.
And I may be conservative on that because if I put the math to it, it might have been 1,000.
Wow.
I mean, literally. Yeah. I mean, it was a tremendous difference. It's like I'm running along over here, bootstrapping everything. Boom, put down the chunk of change. At the time it was a lot of money. It was $8,000 to get into this thing. And well, two things happened. One, I generated a new client using one of their methods, and the confidence that I had from those methods. Again, we buy confidence and we buy speed. And it generated a $108,000 contract.
Wow.
All right. So eight to 108,000. And then they encouraged me to do some coaching. And so I sold 100 students at $500 a pop in 2 months. And so it's like, you start saying, well, what was different about that? Only that they said, Carrie, you are an expert. Go teach this. That was it. That was the difference, right? So I'm here to say, like, well, yeah, you can hire somebody, and if you get the right person, you're going to get that speed and you're going to get that confidence.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the accelerant that so many people need to get where they really want to go. You want to design that lifestyle?
Life-changing.
Yeah. You want to get that lifestyle? Well, you need to make that change.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you love your friends and family, but at the same time, they are not the people who are going to tell you, that one, the path you're on is a good one. And two, how to accelerate your progress, because they're already envious and jealous, and they don't want you to leave the rat trap that they're in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's why it's all about community. I'm very fortunate. I have a rare scenario. My entire family, all of us are entrepreneurs. It's rare. That is not normal. So I'm lucky I've got that background. But let's say I didn't. Okay. Normal, like communities of friends, right? The chances of them all being entrepreneurs are slim. So they don't understand what you're doing. You're building something initially that's not built. That's why you're building it. So you have this grand plan in your head of like, okay, this is what I'm great at. This can be, this is what people want, or maybe you're figuring that out. How can I make this into a business? It's all in your brain at that point. So if you build up that community that's supporting you along the way and they're like, yeah, that's awesome, like, but it's not there, that's what you need. You need somebody who's like building you up rather than, like you said, being jealous, not understanding it, kind of wants to drag you into the, let's say, the corporate 9 to 5 that they're stuck in. It's so easy to get stuck in that when everybody else is doing it, right? But for me personally, I felt entrepreneurship, while everybody else says it's very risky, for me, it's riskier to stay in a situation that I'm not liking, that I hate, right? Because here's what I had a very picture perfect job in the fashion industry in New York City. Corporate world, like I got free shoes. What woman doesn't want free shoes? I mean, come on. And my whole background is in fashion, so I did love that piece, right? But I sat at this desk with this great job, loved my team, and I thought, why do I hate this job so much? Why? There's literally no reason for me not to like it. And what I realized over time is it doesn't matter what fashion job I had. If I was working at a corporation, that's what it was I didn't like. I'm just born to be an entrepreneur. It's literally inside my body and my brain, everything about me. I can't even help it. I had 2 businesses before. I was in the corporate world, in and out in between those. And then I finally, in 2019, I was just like, you know what? It's riskier being in this position. I'm out. What's the worst case scenario? Worst case is like I bartend for a while, make things work while I figure out my business. But I'm not gonna die. So like that was my worst case scenario. So I was like, okay, maybe my pride or ego might be hit a couple of times, but like I'm gonna figure this out, and then the rest is history. So to me, again, it's riskier not to make the move and to go after it. And I'm really glad that I made that choice. So if anybody else is pondering that right now, listening, if that voice is in your head that you need to start a business, I think it's something you should really look into, because it's not going to stop talking to you.
It's not. And if you have a desire to do more than what society says that you should do, then you're going to naturally gravitate towards controlling your own future.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I
Yeah,
grew
exactly.
up in the world where you go to school, you get good grades, you go and get a job, and you work, and you find a
Mm-hmm.
woman, you get married, you buy a house, you have
Mm-hmm.
kids, and that's your life. But that wasn't
Mm-hmm.
my experience. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I got laid off like 4 times in 5 years. I was like, this is
Oh,
why? Yeah, I have not done anything wrong. It's like
right.
you guys made a decision at the corporate level to merge and created
Mm-hmm.
redundancy, and I'm not necessary. What? Right? I've been here for
Yeah.
6 years doing the things you say, and then you go to another company, and then some big company like GE comes in and buys you, and then you get
Mm-hmm.
laid off again. Then you go to another
There's no
company, and GE
loyalty.
buys them.
None.
Right? They
Mm-mm.
say, "Oh, we like you. We're going to keep you this time," but you never know if you have a job for six
You don't
months, more
know.
than 6 months at a time, and you've been there 6 years.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
That's
yeah.
so scary.
So
Yeah.
when you say risk, I don't know that it is any more risky.
That's what I'm saying. Is like, I think to me, like I said, it's more of a risk for me personally to realize I'm sitting at this desk. I hate my job, even though it should be perfect, but this is going to be my life for the next 40 plus years, right? Like, I just can't imagine doing that every day. Why not take a quote risk, which is not a risk at this point for me, like to just jump in to do something I love and I feel passionate about. And like right now I'm working a lot more hours, but like I love it,
Right.
and it doesn't feel like it because it's something I care so deeply about, and it's mine.
It is yours, and you have that pride of ownership, and
Mhm.
you're happy and you're satisfied. Now let's go back to something that you said. You started, you said pre-pandemic, but then it was post-pandemic. And don't you think a lot of people learned some lessons about being necessary during
Oh
the
yeah.
pandemic?
Oh yeah. Mhm.
It's like,
And
okay,
there's more people going into entrepreneurship right now than ever in history. Because of that, they just really evaluated their lifestyles, what's important to them, their values, how they, they really just took a step back and was like, what should I set up my future to be like? Like I didn't have to do it like this because so many people did get let go from their jobs,
mhm,
or their jobs changed so much that they had to make the decision to leave their jobs because of childcare or taking care of family. Like there's so many scenarios here that changed their lives. So they did have to evaluate, am I still valuable at this company, or is the company even valuable to me? You
right.
have to ask yourself those questions. It works both ways, but that's why so many people are looking at the potential of starting their business. How do they do that? And they realize also you really have no limit to the income you make whenever you are an entrepreneur, because I mean, it takes a while to build up, but you can always keep pushing yourself.
All right, look, let's be honest, Blaire. You and me,
Mhm.
let's have a real honest discussion. The great remote worker thing happened because of the thing that we're on right now. Zoom.
Mhm.
Zoom opened the
Yeah,
door to everybody saying, well, if I can remote
everyone.
work for a corporation, why can't I
Mhm.
remote work for my own benefit?
Mhm.
So, I think the great thing that happened, and I do call it a great thing, is that people realized I can communicate with the world through Zoom, right?
Mhm.
I had this thing, for a long time. I do not do local marketing for local businesses. So anybody that was in driving territory, out, because I'm not going to go see you. I'm not driving across town. I'm not going in traffic. I don't do that. You want to meet? Here we go. Right?
Mhm.
Let's do a Zoom. They're like,
Mhm.
"What's that?" Right? So I had to teach everybody. I had to teach everybody how to do a Zoom conference. You
Uh-huh.
know, and Zoom wasn't even a thing then. So we used other things to accomplish the same ideal that we're doing right now. But once the pandemic hit, it became commonplace for everyday citizens and entrepreneurs and
Mhm.
employees to understand that we can have relationships, we can do business via Zoom,
Mhm.
cross country, across the world.
Yeah. It's amazing, right?
I, I think so. I
I
think so.
love it.
And
But
I
yeah,
think
I mean
I
that
think
changed
that's
how everything was.
I think when you're saying there's a whole lot of people that want to be entrepreneurs, and you meet a lot of those in the startup phase. I think a lot of it comes from the fact that the pandemic taught people that we can do this. It is viable,
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
right?
Definitely.
In my world, the virtual bookkeeper has become a thing.
Mhm.
It's like, what do you mean virtual? Why do we even put in the word virtual on it? You're just a bookkeeper. You don't have to be a virtual. You're a bookkeeper. You do
Mhm.
work remotely. Why not? Everything gets downloaded
Yeah.
via automation anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. All right. Last question before we get to the special ones. You mentioned that you do branding.
Mhm.
I love neuroscience. I love neuromarketing.
Mhm.
And one of the thought leaders in this neuromarketing um, put forth the idea that because of branding, because of how we know the brain works, that we can get somebody and understand that they actually make a purchasing decision 2 hours before they consciously know they've made that purchasing decision.
I love that. That's a fun fact.
All right. So when you know this, right? When you know this, and we overlay that science,
Mhm.
proven fact information
Mhm.
with the idea that for a long time in direct marketing, the world said, well, you need to touch your customer 6-7 times before they will make a purchasing decision.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that number's jumped, right? I think it's jumped
Right.
because of the frantic and frenetic nature of the internet, but it's
Right.
probably somewhere between 11 and 20, right?
Yeah, I think it is. Last
And
I heard,
so
yeah.
so that's where we get back to branding, right? How do we get our
Mhm.
message in front of people that many times? How do we get our message about our offers, about who we serve, about what our market is, what our values and how do we get that message in front of people that often through marketing? Ideas?
I think a big part is just maintaining that consistency. If you set up your brand to where every single platform that you're on, you're speaking the same message, that's something very important because if people happen to be scrolling, they see like the same colors, let's say, because there's a lot of color psychology there. Your logo needs to be on it. You're speaking to people in a specific way instead of maybe your corporate stuffy tech jargon versus friendly personal best friend we're having drinks with. Those are two different personalities, right? So you have to infuse a brand personality as well. So the whole mix of branding, like, and then maintaining that consistency across platforms, meaning your website, every place you touch on social media, customer service, emails, whatever you're setting up, consistency. But to get that message in front of the right people, you just gotta be everywhere. I hate to say it, but you do. You're like, you were talking earlier, you're looking into TikTok. You know, you gotta,
That old man doesn't
sorry,
belong on TikTok.
sorry, putting yourself out there. But create if a podcast is your expertise, that's another good way to market yourself. You really just got to think creatively, like where is your audience at exactly, and be there. It doesn't have well, don't be there if they're not hanging out in that spot. If they're not a LinkedIn crowd ever, put your efforts on where they're at and just constantly consistency and just be creative about it on the platforms they're hanging out at.
I think that's right. When you're creating a brand, you are talking about your identity. You're talking about what who you are, what you stand for, the color psychology. You could from a neuroscience standpoint, you can even pin your brand to a scent, right? I mean, if I said something like Mrs. Fields cookies, do you start smelling cookies? I mean, if I said
Yeah.
that, well, we're the unicorn agency, do you automatically picture a unicorn? Right. And so scents and colors and visuals that can be represented make your brand more memorable for sure. Now, from a strategic standpoint, yes, you want to be everywhere, but there are, and this is the thing where I think that small businesses really, really, really do themselves a disservice by thinking they can be everywhere, right? Well, how much time are you going to take to be everywhere when people like you and I know that through various automations, we literally can be everywhere, right? We don't take the time to do that. We're going to create a piece of content
Right.
one time, and then we're going to distribute it and syndicate it. All right. We're going to chop that
Exactly.
one piece up. We're going to send it everywhere, do all these different things.
Yep.
But we can also do things like remarketing, right? Using ad platforms to get our message out. So, in my worldview, anything a business does drives them back to one location. Anything that they do goes back to one location, and that's their website.
Yes.
And on your website, if you don't have the right conversion factors, if you don't have the ability to get them back to your website, then all that effort is gone for naught. Right now, they hit your website once, but if you have to have 20 touches getting back to the touches thing, how are you going to get those? And that's the question. How are you going to get those 20? And how long is your sales cycle? And can you match your sales cycle with what your message is? and do it so that at that 20th touch, they're getting the offer that makes them say, yes, I want to do business.
Yeah. Yeah. But try to cut that in half. Yeah, be really impactful and strategic and meet your customers where they're at and do the market research in advance. How are they talking? How do they talk about the pain points that you're solving? Take their verbiage, use that in your marketing. They're literally telling you.
You saved the bombshell for last. You saved the bombshell for last.
Oh, I gotta have a mic drop somewhere.
Okay, that is a perfect place to segue. But you're right. You're right. What is their pain? How do I solve it? And how do I communicate it?
Yeah, and literally do the research. Take the verbiage, exactly what they say. Put that in your marketing. Do not drop the tech crap. Use their marketing. It's going to resonate with them more. They're going to feel connected to the brand more neurologically, and you're hopefully will be able to close that. You're more than likely going to be able to close that deal faster than like the 20th landing on your website.
Excellent. Okay, are you ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
All right. What is something most people think is important that I can just skip entirely?
Oh, okay. What is something people think is important, but they can skip entirely? Oh my gosh, this is a hard one. What can they skip entirely? You know what I think people think they need huge audiences on social media to start making sales. They don't need to make the sales. You don't need 10,000 followers to have a business. I think that people do get held up in that. I'm not saying skip social media entirely. That's not what I'm saying. But I'm saying is if you're focusing on only building up your social media following before you start thinking about sales and building out your business and growing your business, no, you don't have to have 1 million followers. Like that's not necessary. So don't let that hold you back from really growing your business, because you can grow it strategically in other ways other than having a beautiful vanity number on your social media channels.
Vanity metrics. Yes. I love it.
Yeah.
What channels have led to the building of your highest quality relationship?
Highest quality relationships. I would definitely say actually Facebook groups. I have an entrepreneur community on there for my business, but I also am a part of several others. And I found that by joining a lot of different events and taking the initiative to network with these people and honestly just offer free advice where I can, send them referrals like, hey, this person's really awesome in this area. You should hire them. Like random stuff like that. That's truly like genuinely selfless, like helping other people out. That has been the best way for me to build relationships online in a digital world that we are in today. So Facebook groups has been great because if you think about it, do people go to Instagram for help? Not as often as they do for Facebook groups. There's a group for everything. So I would say that is easily my best place so far.
Awesome. That's great advice. Last one. What's something you didn't pay enough attention to or ignored early on that you had to learn the hard way?
Definitely along with outsourcing help, because that took me a while to realize, like, even on a budget, like you can outsource. I should have done that earlier. But coming up with lead generation tactics, I took too long on that. Cost me a lot of money to not do that sooner. So if you haven't if you're building your business and you're focusing on everything else right now, start looking into lead generation tactics so that way you can start outsourcing that, get more sales through the door, growth.
As a lead generation expert over the last 14 years, I concur.
Yeah, honestly, number one mistake is not doing that sooner. And now I'm like, okay, let's roll. Now I'm like, the clouds parted, the sun shining down. As soon as I figured that out, it just changes the game.
I worked with a company, and they were in Dallas. They operated in the entire Dallas-Fort Worth metro area, which is, humongous. And
Mm-hmm.
they, I asked them one time, I said, why, you're everywhere. You're on morning drive time radio. I see you doing TV ads, you're doing newspaper, you're doing magazine. You have your SEO game is really strong. So why are
Mm-hmm.
you interested in buying my leads? And they're like, well, we want to suck all of the leads out of the marketplace that we can. That's the only way we're going to grow, right? And I think that's,
Mm-hmm.
they did ballpark advertising for, the professional baseball. They were literally everywhere. Plus, they bought mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the lesson for that, for businesses, is that understand this is a very competitive game. And if
Mm-hmm.
you think your competitor's not thinking about how to take away your opportunity, you're not thinking big enough.
No, you got to think big. Yeah, just go for it. Like, get started, be aggressive, and just roll. Like,
Yeah.
you'll see things changing.
All right, Blaire Brown, this has been fantastic. Tell everybody where they can find you and who you serve.
Okay. So you can find me on blairebrown.com. Everything there, all my social media. There's a lot of free resources for entrepreneurs as well. And the Curate Your Success podcast, if you're a podcast listener, which I'm assuming you are because you're here right now. It's truly on every podcast streaming platform. But the people that I serve are new entrepreneurs that are looking to launch their business. So anybody looking to launch a business right now needs that extra help from somebody who's been there, done that, and wants to help you succeed and cut the learning curve in half. That's definitely my audience, as well as businesses that are looking to increase their visibility through marketing initiatives. So SEO, web design, etc. I will make your business sellable and get in front of the right people. So that is my audience.
Fantastic. This has been wonderful, Blaire. I really appreciate your participation.